It's time for a little bit of mayhem.
Oh no, that ended up sounding more like the Joker than a bloody psycho. Oh, let's roll with it. So, it has been 10 years since the first Borderlands was released and brought into my life the amazing looter shooter genre. And with that came a really awesome art style, really immature one-liners, and a very, very addictive gameplay that just kept me wanting more. And after a sequel, a prequel, and a Telltales game, we finally have Borderlands 3, and boy am I excited for this one. But can it really live up to all the hype, or did I hop onto the hype train a little bit too early and now it's derailed and fallen down a ditch full of broken dreams and lost hopes? So we'll start off with the story, and I know you may or may not be thinking, wait a minute, this game has a story to it? It's not just about running around like a headless chicken all over the place shooting people in the face? Nah, there is actually a bit of a story behind this all. And while it's maybe not the most imaginative story out there, it did help to progress the game along quite nicely. So maybe you're a newcomer to the Borderlands series and you're just thinking to yourself, man, I just really want to jump into the latest game that has just come out because it's the latest of it all, but I don't know about the story behind Borderlands. Well, there is actually a good amount of informational videos out there on YouTube, funnily enough, that will show you and tell you everything that there is to be with the Borderlands series up until this point. I'll leave a good one that I quite like a lot in the description below. But if you don't really want to watch any of those videos on the story, or you don't want to play the other games to get caught up with the story, you don't necessarily need to know what's actually going on. Let's be honest, this game is all about shooting and looting. The amount of loot that comes out of things in this game is just insane, but we'll get onto that a bit later on. But to give you a small idea as to what could possibly be going on in this one, let's just have a little sneak peek into it, eh? So at the end of Borderlands 2, you defeat Handsome Jack, who's now not so handsome anymore. And then you discover that there is actually vault keys for all kinds of planets throughout the galaxy, with vaults on them, containing amazing treasure and loot, and as a vault hunter, you need to go get that stuff. But there seems to be one vault in particular that you're quite interested in, and that happens to be the Great Vault. I mean, like, if they're all the other vaults are just called the Vault, the Great Vault, you'd probably be more interested to go get that one first, wouldn't you? And this is when you get picked up by Lilith, who, if you have played the games before, you'll definitely know. She is the Siren Bee's Knees, if you will, who is now the leader of the Crimson Raiders. And, well, you could probably guess that your main goal is to find this Great Vault. Find the Great Vault key before the Calypso twins, who is the new bad guys in this game, find it first. It's the usual sort of, you know, bad guy wants what you want, so you stop them by grabbing the thing that they want first, so then you can save the world. Woo! In this case, the galaxy. There's a few more worlds involved in this one. Right, and on that note, let's actually just jump straight into the Calypso twins.
What is up, my bandit legions? God Queen Tyreen coming at you live with my brother Troy. We're streaming, you're screaming, and we're all ready to open the Great Vault.
I'm not gonna lie, they haven't really been the most engaging enemies that I've ever had to face in a game before. They kind of, you know, bore me a little bit, and I haven't really seen much of a reason to kill them other than they do these podcasts every now and again, and they can kind of get a little bit annoying, and calling you a super fan throughout the entire thing did get a bit on my nerves a touch, but it is what it is. I guess that's a reason to kill them. They're on my nerves. They're getting on my nerves. But there just hasn't really been something that sort of grasps me to these characters. You know, like in other games, for example, Far Cry 3 with Vaas, he really made me engaged and want to actually kind of be friends with the guy, but other than the killing and the murdering, he seemed pretty cool. Alright, that's enough about the D-Bag Wonder Twins. Let's move on to a couple of the playable characters that you can play in this one. So you've got 4 new characters. Four, not 3, 4. And they range from your good old Siren, your good old Gunner, and your good old mech person. I actually don't think any of the other games have a mech person. There's a mech person now. And you've also got Flak the Hunter, which is the main character that I've been playing throughout this journey of mine. Mainly because I like the idea of having a pet. I like having a little companion that can, you know, run off into the distance and go defeat some enemies while I'm looting these things over here, because that's more important to me at the moment. Another thing I found out about the characters as well is that in their skill trees, as opposed to having one main skill like in the previous games, you actually have a choice of up to 3 different skills. And if you play as the flat character, you've actually got up to 3 different pets that you can have out as well. You can have, there's a spider dude, there's a skag, who's like a dog kind of thing that spits acid at you, and there's a monkey with a visor. I'd actually like to call him a lion monkey because he kind of looks like a lion monkey. But he's got a little visor on his face, and he holds a gun. That's fun. And he throws toxic barrels at people. I like this monkey. He's my favorite. But to go through some of the other characters as well, I've already mentioned Flack as the hunter character. You've also got Zane, who is the sort of military style, I'm gonna run and gun character, who he phases, he makes like copies of himself and sends them on their way, or enemies think that's him, even though it's clearly not because he's blue. You've also got Amara, who is the siren character in this one, and the main reason why I remember her name is because take a couple of letters out, you've got the word arm in there, and she just has massive arms that come out of her back. It's different, it's cool. And then you got Mose, who is the mech that I mentioned before. She basically runs along and then jumps into a mech that forms around her, and then you just sort of blow things to pieces. Right, that's enough about the characters now, and let's move on to some gameplay. That's right, there is some interesting little tweaks to the gameplay that I've found, and we're going to talk about them right now. So to start off with, I'm just going to put this out there, it is Borderlands. It's a lot more Borderlands. It's just, if you pick up a Borderlands game, if you've played a Borderlands game before, don't expect it to be any different from Borderlands. But that's not a bad thing in the slightest bit. I love Borderlands. I think it's an amazing game. I think it's got awesome art style behind it, and it's just a hell of a lot of fun to sort of just kick back and shoot everything. But one of the little tweaks that I've found that it felt a lot smoother and a lot faster than previous games. For example, you do actually have a nice slide feature in there now. I can't quite remember if that actually was in the other games or not. Correct me in the comment section below if it was, but I love it. It made me, I've just been playing Apex Legends recently, and it made me feel like that game, to be honest. The slide felt amazing. It's a great feeling to just sort of slide around the corner and then blah blah blah, everyone's dead. It just makes you feel powerful and fast and efficient and just sort of like a one-man army, and that's what it should feel like, which is amazing. Now we're going to quickly touch on the one thing that, you know, Borderlands has to have in every single one of their games, and that is loot. That's right, loot. There is a stupid amount of weapons in this game, and I don't even mean that lightheartedly. I mean, there is a stupid amount of weapons in this game. There is thousands, I feel. I don't actually know an exact number. I think there's probably in the thousands of these weapons, and somehow they all feel very different. Well, the main weapons anyway. I mean, like, there's probably a couple of guns in there, here, there, and everywhere that do feel similar. But most of the guns have their own little sort of unique feel to them. And on top of that, there's also the new feature, which is you can actually have different firing types for a couple of different guns. There's a good amount of selection between them. For example, I had a auto rifle that you could actually switch between auto and semi-auto. That's a nice little touch. Also, I had this really cool shotgun that you could switch between radiation damage and fire damage. And there was this other shotgun that I had that you could switch between lightning damage and corrosive damage. There's a lot of variety to this now. In fact, I even had this handgun that when you switched it to the other type of ammo, it was actually a little tracking puck. If you got that onto an enemy, it would track the enemy for 10 seconds, aka all of your bullets would hit that dude. And it's not just about the guns either. You've also got grenades, you've also got shields, you've also got some little trinket things that you can get that actually increase your stats again. So as opposed to having to just level up your character so you can get these extra little boosts, you can grab these trinkets depending on the rarity, will depend on how many different perks it's going to level up. There's a lot of variety to this game now, and I freaking love it. And on top of all that, you've also got different enemy types as well. You've got ones that will charge at you, you've got ones that will snipe you from a distance. You got ones that just sort of run around throwing grenades everywhere. In fact, I found these little sort of like little loot imp type things. I don't know what they were, but they were just little loot dudes that ran around the place. You'd blow their face off a little bit and then all of a sudden, boom, they exploded into loot, and it was amazing to feel. You've also got robots. You've also got dudes with massive shields. You've got dudes with just general armor. And depending on what kind of dude you're up against will depend on what sort of weapon loadout you should use. And the cool thing is that you can switch it out on the fly. So if you run into a firefight thinking to yourself, oh no, they're a bunch of robots. I do have a corrosive weapon in my inventory, but I can't get it because they're all attacking me. That's not the case. You can switch that out. That's all good. And finally, there is a lot of worlds that you can explore as well. You've got different places. For example, there's a big cityscape that you drive around mostly. There's the stand in Pandora, the desert island of nothing, I guess, and skags, lots of skags. There's Sanctuary, which is now a floating spaceship in this cosmos, the world that we call the galaxies. And Sanctuary has everything that you could possibly need up there. You've got guns, you can buy more guns. You've got ammo, reload all your ammunitions. You've got healing, you can buy new shields. You've got that weird dude that sits behind that door, Crazy Earl, I'm pretty sure his name is. And he just throws stuff at you, and you gotta get him those purple bricks, and he will give you free stuff. Sometimes, every now and again. It's pretty cool. There's a lot to do in this game. It's even a shooting range, but it has an achievement behind it that I can't do. Can't do it. Can't. And, I mean, like, I don't promote this sort of thing, but there's gambling. There's slot machines on this ship as well. There's a variety of them that give you different things depending on what you do. So I do want to touch on a couple of small things. Unfortunately, from my experience through playing on my Xbox One S, I found it to be quite laggy when going in and out of the menus, which is not a good thing in my opinion, because when you're in the middle of a firefight, for you to go into your menu to switch your loadout because all of a sudden there's a different enemy type or you're running out of bullets on a certain gun, for you to actually incur some lag in between that, it just sort of cuts a lot of the smooth feel of the game out of it. And it's kind of annoying how it's just in the menus. It happens nowhere else that I've found, just when I was going into the menu. Whether this is just because I'm playing on an Xbox One S, if I was playing on an Xbox One X, that might have changed, it might have been better. I'm not too sure. Let me know if you do play it on a Xbox One X, a PlayStation Pro, or even on PC, if you do incur the same sort of lag that I do. It would be interesting to see if it's just that my Xbox is a little bit underpowered maybe. And to be completely honest, I feel like they're trying a little bit too hard when it comes around to the humor in this game. It did fall a bit flat in a couple of scenarios I found, but other than that, it's okay. Finally, before I let you go, I am going to leave you with a couple of tips that I have picked up while playing this game. If you do decide to pick this up, these could come quite in handy with you. The first tip is got to be do side quests. As much as you may want to finish the main story, do side quests. They definitely help out in the ways of loot. You get a lot more loot, you get a lot more money, and experience. I found that I was a little bit under-leveled for one of my main missions. I died a few times and it was not pretty at all. It left me a little bit frustrated, thinking to myself, maybe I should have done some of those side missions, but you live and learn. The first thing I would definitely do as well when you first get into Sanctuary, upgrade those bags, because it's a looter shooter. You want to pick up as much loot as you possibly can, so upgrade the bags as quickly as you can. You can do it up to 8 times, I believe it is, increasing in expensitiveness each time, but eventually you'll get there. Always remember to look at elemental weapons as well, because these could make or break a firefight for you. If you're going up against robots, take a corrosive weapon. If you're going up against dudes with shields, take a lightning weapon. So therefore, it just zaps down their shields or kills them because, you know, corrosiveness against metal, it eats it, I guess. But it all sort of logically makes sense as to how these weapons work, which is quite cool. But don't go into firefights with a couple of the same element types or a couple of the same weapon types, because you'll find that you'll eat through your ammo really quickly after the same weapon types, and there's really no point in having more than one of the same element type, because you're mainly using the element type to reduce either their shield or kill a robot, or if they're bandits, their fleshiness with the fire. And finally, I would have to say, always, always, always check your letterbox. I don't mean the one at your front yard at all. Don't check that. I mean, you check it if you need to, but I'm not telling you to check it. Check your in-game letterbox. It's under the social tab. And as you progress through the game, you will be using different weapons from different weapon manufacturers. Funnily enough, you can find them down the bottom underneath the weapons. And as you continue to use these weapons, you'll find that these weapon manufacturers will see this and be like, hey, do you want some weapons? And you'll be all like, yes I do. And they'll be like, okay, here's some weapons for you, just for using this stuff. I mean, like, it's like sponsorship. If anyone wants to sponsor me, that'd be cool. And with that, I am going to have to say thank you so much for watching my review on Borderlands 3. If there's anything I missed at all, don't forget to leave it in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for some more reviews coming up in the future. Thanks for watching.